What did he do to make this house so evil?
Welcome to an in-depth examination of public apologies in the digital age. Today I have 3 modern case studies we are going to examine, each representing a different type of public reception. The fourth and final case study provides rich historical context, and though its ancient roots differ from modern culture, there is plenty to learn from. Colleen Ballinger was a famous YouTuber who was known for her gimmicky and campy satirical content, where she performed as a personality she called Miranda Sings. And her channel garnered a lot of fandom from younger kids, like preteen age, rather than adult fans. The claims against Colleen include her sending inappropriate messages to her non-adult fans, as well as mailing her intimates to one adolescent fan. In her apology video, she sang an original song whilst playing a ukulele, and she said she only wanted to talk about the facts. She further states that she did message her fans, but not in a creepy way, and she claims her only mistake was being cringe. She then played the victim and claimed to have changed for the better. She played the victim again, and she was overall more concerned about her reputation, and for the rest of the apology, she rambled about nothing important. Colleen's apology fell flat because of its gimmicks and deception. She outright denied doing the very things that were traced by receipts. For example, video footage, live streams, and chat logs. Colleen further pulled a victim card by claiming that only the unblemished may judge her, which is truly silly because not a single person on this planet is without fault. And in society, certain behaviors deserve shame, they deserve to have consequences. Colleen's behavior falls into that category. I mean, she's truly lucky that she hasn't had to serve time or be placed on some registry, because what she did was not just abhorrent, it could be considered criminal. Earlier this year, Colleen was featured on Tea Time with Raven and Miranda to discuss the accusations that led to her apology video. It's a very long watch, and I must note that it is highly edited, so there's some speculation that jump cuts were used to make Colleen look more favorable. Perhaps she put her foot in her mouth during some of these segments, and they decided to cut those out. She also never apologizes in the video, although when the video was first published, it was titled Colleen's Actual Apology or something to that effect. The title was later changed to Colleen Tells Her Side of the Story. And that was only after people in the comments pointed out that there was no apology from Colleen Ballinger still, even in this podcast years later. Colleen pulled much of the same maneuvers in this podcast that she pulled in her apology song. She dodged accountability, downplayed scenarios, avoided specifics, and she tried to paint herself as an awkward adult who innocently crossed boundaries. Given the content of chat logs she shared with teen viewers, we know that her actions were far worse than the breach of boundaries. Colleen references her new role in motherhood quite frequently in the episode, which seems like something she points to validate that time has passed and therefore she has changed for the better. And I'm sure many others hope that that is true, but it's not looking like that's the case. Gabbie Hanna was a famous YouTuber and prior Vine star who also garnered a following on TikTok in recent years. Gabbie has been canceled multiple times, but her biggest cancellation was marked by an epic crash out in which she uploaded 170 TikToks in the span of a few days, rambling about religion, race, and bullying. A stranger found Gabbie's address online and posed as a local asking to use her washroom. Gabbie filmed several TikToks with the visitor as they had coffee together and prayed. The stranger secretly recorded multiple TikToks in which he uploaded to his own account while inside Gabbie's home. Eventually, Gabbie figured out that the stranger was filming updates behind her back. Gabbie kicked him out, then her TikTok rambling continued as her emotional state declined. Throughout this stint on TikTok, Gabbie was subject to multiple welfare checks by local PD. She was evaluated by 2 professionals and deemed mentally sane. Much later, she took down all these chaotic uploads and told viewers that yes, she was in fact experiencing mania, something she had not dealt with up to that point. She also addressed the strange and offensive statements she made within these TikToks surrounding race, politics, and religion. Perhaps the biggest drama surrounding Gabbie is the way fellow cast members of Escape the Night felt disrespected and mistreated by her on set. In response to a video Gabbie made shading her experience on the show, the remaining cast came forward claiming Gabbie had been rude and disrespectful, making everyone feel uncomfortable. In addition to this event, Gabbie has been accused of using friends and collaborators for views. She apparently betrayed the trust of many people by telling storytime content on her channel without asking those involved if it was okay. She further used those stories for views and clout. Additionally, some claims revealed that she lied in the story time episodes. And according to Trisha Paytas, Gabbie spread a nasty rumor that Trisha gave her boyfriend an STI. And this was not the first rumor that Gabbie had spread about somebody. There have been multiple friends of Gabbie and people who collaborated with Gabbie that said that she lied about them behind their back. It just seems like Gabbie has a track record of being very gossipy and at times spreading rumors that aren't true. Gabbie's apology was a flurry of empty blanket statements and platitudes, overly bubbly and positive remarks, and she blocked certain words from the comments of the video to avoid discussions about her inconsistencies related to a specific person named Jessie Smiles. She failed to apologize for specific actions or acknowledge guilt, and that's what made the apology unacceptable according to viewers. Looking over the claims and receipts, Gabbie fixates on negative attention as well as oversharing on the internet and seemingly even within her own interpersonal relationships. Her viewers seem to agree with this judgment and they have been concerned about her mental well-being for a long time. Gabbie reports to be neurodivergent and have dissociative identity disorder. Speaking of, let's not villainize mental health diagnoses because people don't have control over that. People do, however, have the choice to be decent to others. I don't care to, nor do I have the credentials to assess Gabbie's mental state and potential diagnoses. Gabbie's discussions around religion, though, I think are important to evaluate. Gabbie's Christian rebirth rebrand rubs people the wrong way, and rightfully so, because some of the mistakes Gabbie made are not simply drama. They paint a picture that indicates a lack of integrity and accountability. It seems that viewers merely wanted her to display genuine accountability and remorse for her actions. In the apology video, it seemed that Gabbie has moved on from this, which is good and bad. Eventually, people do need to move on, but I believe the reason Gabbie's apology did little to salvage her reputation is because there was no sincerity. I'm sure she is capable of being decent, and she doesn't deserve to be vilified forever, but the caveat is that she needs to apologize directly to the people she harmed rather than post damage control videos on YouTube. Jenna Marbles was a very famous YouTube creator throughout the 2010s, and she was very well liked for a long time before people started picking apart things that they didn't like about her content. Jenna's apology video is quite a contrast to the previous two that we have discussed. In it, she discusses purging ourselves of toxicity, claims she is not unproblematic, despite many people declaring that she is. She takes accountability for being toxic and unproblematic. She describes herself as a two-way street, stating that she has always felt obligated to improve herself when met with criticism or scrutiny. She places emphasis on making fun and inclusive content a delicate balance to achieve. She presents the exact clips that made people feel offended. She admits to privating the videos with the problematic content as well as additional videos she chose to private at her own discretion because she does not wish to further harm anyone. I must note that content creators can get in trouble with YouTube for deleting videos. Apparently, YouTube owns the videos to an extent once they have been published. So it's very common in these situations where fans complain about specific videos or clips within videos that the content creators will simply private them. Jenna explains that the evolution of her content reveals her growth toward being a better person, and she no longer finds her old content to be funny or entertaining. She adds that she doesn't care if the content may have been funny in the past, that she basically only cares that it offends people now. One video scrutinized by fans was Jenna's impersonation of Nicki Minaj, where fans accused her of doing blackface. Jenna states that while she did not intend to do blackface, her intentions are irrelevant. She declares that the voices of disapproval set the tone for what is deemed appropriate and inappropriate for her channel. In general, the videos Jenna privated contained racially offensive characters or negative stereotypes of men and women. She does not find these comparisons or characters funny, and she notes that neither does society since it has shifted over the last 15 years or so. In contrast to other YouTuber apologies, Jenna faced the accusations head on by displaying the exact clips people complained about. She noted that her intentions, while arguably innocuous, remain irrelevant, and she takes full accountability for her words and offensive behavior on screen. Compared to other creators who only dug themselves deeper with deflection and downplaying their actions, Jenna judges herself harshly. She further avoids attempting to rewrite history, another pitfall many creators have taken when apologizing. Now for our fourth case study. The term apologia is a Greek term which means speaking in defense. An ancient philosopher named Socrates faced a panel of 500 citizens who leveraged both old and new accusations against him. Among the old accusations were claims that Socrates employed tricks to win arguments and discussed trivial or impractical topics, and lastly, they asserted that he taught these skills to his pupils. In essence, being a philosopher or a teacher was criminal. The new accusations claimed Socrates corrupted the youth of Athens with his teachings and further claimed Socrates was an atheist. These new accusations would arguably be more critical, as being atheistic would cause the gods to withhold blessings and prosperity from their society, and likewise corruption of the youth would further degrade their society and its values. These allegations, while dangerous, would be easier to refute than the old accusations. The political climate of Athens was set up against Socrates, so dispelling a chronically bad, albeit false, reputation would be a much more strenuous task. Most troubling, though, was that Socrates not only faced a ruling of judgment, but he also faced the potential termination of his own life. To underscore the precariousness of Socrates during this trial, it is critical to note that he was in fact a poor man who used plain and ordinary language to impart his philosophical teachings on his students. Meanwhile, the Athens court, who built their case on the foundation of a false reputation, used legal jargon and fancy vernacular to remain highly persuasive to the jury rather than leaning on accuracy and fact. Some key considerations are more. Though this was called the apologia, Socrates was not apologizing at all. He was passionately defending his beliefs and practices. You can't and probably shouldn't apologize for something that is not true. Peering deeper, it seemed that the Athens government was displeased with the fact that Socrates' teachings empowered the youth of Athens to become critical of authority and tradition. This phenomenon of the youth rejecting tradition and questioning authority no doubt posed a risk to the institution and its ability to rule. Socrates found great pleasure and purpose in interacting with humans, and he described his life's goal as mastering the skill of dealing with humans. He compared humans to horses, describing their varied demeanors and personalities. In fact, he chose his wife, Xanthippe, who was characterized as difficult and petulant, because he believed that mastering the most difficult of horses would make it easier to master all others. Socrates was described as patient and optimistic, even when he found himself in conflict with his wife. He was not quick to emotion like Xanthippe, although he was not necessarily stoic either. He remained objective when faced with conflict. He believed that remaining objective and curious led to wisdom and understanding, two elements that are required to master dealing with humans. Socrates was a Greek philosopher credited as the founder of Western philosophy and one of the first moral philosophers. He denied being a teacher as he never charged money for his teachings. He failed to document his teachings as he favored an open forum discussion on the streets of Athens where onlookers could take a seat and listen. He believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. Ignorance and wisdom go hand in hand because you cannot truly be wise if you are unaware of what you do not know. In essence, the pursuit of wisdom cannot be made without humility. The way I interpreted Socrates' role in his society was that he was a mirror. He reflected people back onto themselves, and that is perhaps why he found more favor in the eyes of the youth. The youth are still discovering who they are. They are not threatened when a figurative mirror is held up to them, as their fleeting childlike sensibilities allow them to remain curious about the truth, whereas jaded older folk who tend to suffer from inflated egos are more likely to become angry when their fragile sense of self is dismantled by truth. It's like looking in a mirror and being angry that the mirror makes your nose look big. An enlightened and introspective person would not displace their anger toward the mirror. They would understand that the mirror merely reveals their own image. The difference is ignorance can be easily improved upon. Socrates uncovered that most of the older generation refused to acknowledge or improve their ignorance, revealing that the establishment was faulty and imperfect, perhaps even incompetent. To be ignorant is to be unwise, and Socrates' pupil Plato would later go on to say that man had a fundamental responsibility to seek wisdom, because wisdom leads to an understanding of the form of good. Socrates' calm and open forum discussions with the youth threatened social norms and narratives put in place by the establishment. Ultimately, Socrates' teachings threatened the authority of the establishment, so the establishment sought to punish him. In 399 BC, Socrates was found guilty of impiety and corrupting the youth, despite a clear and concise defense. Thus, his sentence was to consume hemlock, resulting in the end of his subscription to planet Earth. In Socrates' time, saying the wrong thing could very well end your life, whereas currently, saying the wrong thing devours one's reputation. With the veil of anonymity provided by the internet, people can say almost anything they like without consequence, at least for now. This fact emphasizes a very intriguing nuance to the equation. You could argue that Socrates' actions were more honorable considering he didn't use a veil of secrecy to speak his mind. He did so with his community openly and in good faith. It was part of that community who conspired against him in a rigged trial to silence his voice forever. This examination of apologies begs the question, which death is worse? Is social suicide worse than being sentenced to execution? Socrates was a poor man. He was a husband and a father to 3 sons. He lacked power and status, but ostensibly his tale teaches us that the influence of true wisdom can be far more impactful than power and status. Socrates' death was so influential that there has been art created about it. This piece that I'm going to be reviewing is titled The Death of Socrates, and it was painted in 1787 by Jacques-Louis David, a neoclassical oil painter. Socrates, dressed in a white robe, sits upright on a bed. One hand extends to the cup of hemlock, while the other gestures declaratively. The teacher is teaching even in his precious final moments. Distressed friends and pupils weep with heavy hearts in stark contrast to the calm and enigmatic Socrates. A young pupil hands the cup but cannot bear to look, while Citro listens intently to Socrates. His hand rests on Socrates' thigh with fondness and affection, perhaps to comfort himself, perhaps to symbolically clutch onto the values associated with Socrates himself. Plato rests at the end of the bed, slumped and pensive. He is depicted as much older than he was when this event occurred. Socrates' wife, Xanthippe, takes a fleeting glance back toward the scene while traversing the stairway, located in the upper left corner of the background of the painting.